Network as a powerful sort of enabler is as important as, let's say, 10 years ago?
I think it's actually even more important.
Really? Yeah. Why?
The moment that you sit in front of your computer and try to reach out to people, you lose credibility.
Why do you think this part of the world doesn't have as much angels that are willing to take that risk with those very young, fresh, energetic minds?
People are focused on bigger deal, bigger jobs. If the return doesn't come tomorrow, it's a waste of time.
And do you give your equity?
Usually I dilute for free at the beginning because I don't want to impact the founder.
Matteo Boffa is a Swiss serial impact entrepreneur and investor, resident in Dubai since 2016. He has won several awards, including Middle East Young Entrepreneur of the Year by Mead and Forbes 30 Under 30.
The purpose of giving you the money is not to keep it in the bank account, is to use it and to grow. If it's fail, it's a fail. We have this knowledge. I'm not running behind luxury car, luxury apartment.
What do you want to happen to make your life easy as an investor?
If you see, even quinoa was the food of the poor people, and now it's superfood. And if you create a niche out of something that is good for the people, good for the environment, you have a future.
Two years? What, is it 3 years? 3 years after the first episode we recorded together?
Yeah, at your place was around 3 years.
Exactly, around 3 years. I'll tell you what, that episode, I watched it so many times. Sometimes I feel ashamed.
Why?
Because I'll tell you, everything I'm doing now as an entrepreneur, as someone who is doing his own thing, I give credit almost 100% as a catalyst to you.
No, come on.
I asked you so many questions because I was genuinely interested in how can we move away from being an employee to being just doing your own thing, whatever you want to label it, entrepreneur, business founder, startup, whatever it is, just do your own thing. And is it even possible? And all of the questions that you gave me, it was so enlightening. I can't believe it.
Oh, thank you.
So the one thing that I was always afraid of is what would life look like?
Yeah.
And you answered me very beautifully. Do you remember?
Yeah. No, I remember. It was very genuine, and I think your questions were coming from your heart. So
it's crazy.
Yeah, and now you're doing it better than me, actually.
No, let's see about that. But listen, what's the most exciting thing you're working on right now?
So it's called Zebra Ventures.
Okay.
We already started?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
This is casual, right?
Okay,
so whatever comes to mind, just we go, yeah.
So Zebra Venture has the idea of pulling together different angel investor. So people that has some money aside, maybe that have other jobs or other profession, and pulling the money together and really going and invest in early stage impact startup.
Okay.
So at the moment we are doing some roadshow through different universities in the UAE. It's going to be in Switzerland, few events as well with university. And the concept is really to give a chance to young students with great idea and not kick off money to really give the first $10,000, $20,000 to really transform the idea into reality. Because we realize that a lot of time through university program or startup competition or incubator accelerator, the student creates something amazing. They do a lot of research and they get good idea that can be business idea.
Yes, 100%.
But at the end, they finish, they pass the exam, and they put the idea in the drawer, and they start becoming an employee, and nothing happened. So through my experience, I invested in few startups that now are doing very good through university projects. So that's a bit the concept.
This was your passion from before, going to universities.
Yep.
See, actually, we met at a university first time with Iman.
Yep.
And then you were, I think, a judge or some sort of someone who looks after or speaks.
Yep.
And then we got introduced. So this was your passion from forever.
Yes. The thing is, I never been to university. I think I already mentioned this on the previous podcast. So for me, being in this environment is something quite cool. I feel myself even younger. So.
But even giving back, being able to spot those people, I remember your words clearly. They have a vision, they have a mission, they have a passion that you can see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
And then you're able to spot that quickly from amongst all of this crowd, right?
Yes. And the thing is, the risk is relatively high, but the amount is relatively small. So high risk, high reward is something that I like. And there is a lot of investment opportunity in the UAE But this niche of reaching the very, very early stage of friends, family, and fool, so I consider myself the fool,
the angel fool,
the first capital among other
yes.
other believers. It's very niche. There is no investor that does this in this place.
Okay, so let's stop here for a second, because one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast is obviously to put a spotlight on some of the issues that we have in this part of the world and hopefully be able to tackle them, right? Solve them. A stat that I've seen before, and please fact check me before taking it from me, is that the pre-seed investment in this part of the world is less than 7 or 6%, whereas in other parts of the world it can be more than 30 to 35%. And this is the problem you're mentioning, right?
Yeah, I don't know exactly the statistic. What I saw here in the last 10 years that I'm living, there is a lot of family office, venture capital, private investor for higher ticket, 500,000, 1 million. If your company is not valuated more than 5, 10 million, they don't even look at you. So what we do is really try to spot the hidden gem through university. Why university? Because in this part of the world, you have people from all over, different backgrounds, different expectation. Maybe they had a different past or a difficult past from different countries. So they come here really to succeed, and they put 300% of their energy into what they are doing to be able to prove that they can do it. So I think this is a perfect place to really find great opportunity.
So in your opinion, why do you think this part of the world doesn't have as much pre-seed, or like you're saying, angels that are willing to take that risk with those very young, fresh, energetic minds?
Personally, I think this
your
is
opinion, yeah.
It's a bit of a crazy city to buy in a positive way, of course.
Yeah.
But people are focused on bigger deal, bigger jobs, bigger opportunity. If the return doesn't come tomorrow, it's a waste of time. What we do at Zebra is really to invest the money and the time to coach and teach and introduce the founders to bigger opportunity. The return is longer. It might take 2, 3, 4 years before you can see even your money back or a return. People here doesn't have patience to really dedicate the time to students or to new entrepreneur, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, and I think that resonates a lot with Dubai's fast-paced move, right? When you reach somewhere, and like you said, because the amount of investments in startups at a higher scale, I mean, the number of VCs is concentrated in Dubai and the UAE, probably tenfold than anywhere else in the Middle East, and that tells something. So let me step back a bit. Now, last time we met, you taught me, and I say it with all the humility in the world, you taught me the meaning of entrepreneurship, investments, and everything that has to do with that. So now I'm graduated. Now
Yes.
I'm an entrepreneur myself. I'm doing my own thing. So I need to understand a few things from you. So help me understand them. First, you are an investor, like you mentioned. You are an angel investor, and there's a categories of investors. So you have angel investors, you mentioned family offices, you mentioned venture capitalists, you mentioned corporates. And what are these? And if you can just categorize them for me.
So I represent myself, or I present myself as an angel investor, but even earlier. So I said friends, family, and fool, which it comes slightly early than angel investor, are the believers. So that's the category where I feel myself more appropriate, because the ticket size of entry is smaller.
What's that?
So
like 10,000?
Yeah, 10,000 to 20, 30,
all in
40,000
dollars,
dollars.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. So that's the ticket size. More you grow into private investor, angel investor can be up to 100,000, 200,000. VC can be millions. Family office can be millions. So it's really the scale of.
And then sovereign funds, which is unlimited.
Again, I think I feel comfortable in a small playground. As soon as we became two admin, lawyers, contracts, for me it's shaking hands. I give you the money. I trust you. Let's make it together. And along the way, if the valuation grows, I can partially exit my share. So bring other investor and recover a bit the investment and maybe make a profit. So I don't like when it's too complicated. And
it's very simple, very casual.
Yeah, and my knowledge is limited. I did my apprenticeship in banking, so I have a knowledge of finance eventually, but I'm not the smartest person in the room or the most intelligent. I like when I can provide support to the startup.
So that's the first step. That's the
Yep.
first category of startups, which
Yeah.
is the very early stage, and you feel yourself in here.
Yep.
What's the value to you, or what's the upside to you to be part of that category?
For me, it has to be cool. To be honest,
Casual, fresh, right?
the cool idea, cool product, a cool service. When it becomes too technical, technological, I don't understand it. And if I cannot understand it, I cannot explain it to bigger investors. So I lose the opportunity of bringing bigger fish into the game and generate profit eventually.
Yes.
So for me, it has to be very easy to understand. In 2 lines, the founder has to explain what is it, why it's better, and why this will make money. It's as simple as that. And as you know, I have few interesting company here in the UAE that have cool product and service. So
Yeah.
that's for me is the most important thing.
How many exits did you have so far? Do you remember?
Exit.
Yeah.
So total exit 1 and
Okay.
partial exit multiples.
Multiple.
Yeah,
So when you say
depend-
partial exit, as in you gave equity.
Yes.
Okay. So this is and then you consider the next part is what angel investors. This is where they have the $100,000, $200,000 sort of range.
Yep.
Okay. So this is just also representing themselves.
Yes, as an angel investor is usually your own private money, yes.
Okay. And then after that comes
After you can have a family office where you have a family or a name or a brand that's pulled together from different components of the family,
Yeah.
a member of the family, and there is a manager that manage
A fund manager sort of. Yeah.
that manage the assets that can be put in bonds, in startups, in real estate, in different way to diversify the risk and optimize the profits.
And one of them is startups.
Yeah, it can be startup. Usually startups, it's not more than 5-10% because
Of
the
their-
risk is very high.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then after that is what VCs, generally speaking.
Yes, so VCs usually big funds, 50 million plus, hundreds, 200, 500 million, and they select through a committee where to invest based on their investors. So they pool money from other people.
So exactly. So they have the limited partners, which are the investors who put money with the investors, and this is very institutionalized. And this is where you say legal paperwork, sort of
Yes.
very bureaucratic, right?
Yes.
And naturally, so to protect the money of all of those people, and then the GPs or the general, partners, they go and scout for or
Yes.
receive applications from
Yes.
and then after that we have governments.
Sovereign
funds,
yes.
which is unlimited, obviously, money.
Yes.
So, okay, this is the categorization that is quote unquote. It's not like a law, right? There's no regulation. It's just according to how much you're spending, you will be part of those.
Yes.
If we go to the founder side, we have, you mentioned pre-seed, seed, and then we have all the series in the world. So how does those? I mean, I know there's no clear line, but how does those categorize?
This depends on valuation, but how you can evaluate an idea at the very early stage, it's very difficult. You have tech company that evaluate themselves 100 million without even took out a product or a service. Like, that's why personally I don't have much knowledge. What I see is, I give an example, the laundry company I invested.
Yes.
So I know the numbers that they make. I know how much it can grow based on the marketing that he did. So if I put $20,000, he invests part of it in marketing, I expect to have a return. So based on that, I can roughly evaluate what is the value of the company based on the customer response, the quickness of the service, and the competitors in the area. So for me, it's the smaller the company is, the easier it is to give a valuation.
Okay, so the more data points, like you said, the more information you have, the more it's easy to, and it's okay.
In a way, even if you have less data.
Oh, okay. How so?
So if it's small, you had 5 order per day or 5 order per week, I can evaluate that you are something very small, very little. What is your value is the founder. So how much I evaluate you as a founder, and this is the perspective of the company, of the startup. Yes. What is your background? Did you hit any other exits? You had other successful startup? You had any other unsuccessful startup? That can be a lesson learning process.
That's a good thing?
Yeah. In certain case, we have founder. I invested in founders that said, listen, I failed this startup because X, Y, Z. And in this situation, I will not repeat this mistake, and eventually that will bring better value and better results.
So if they're able to explain why they lost and what is it that exactly, okay. So to show you that the learning has been captured, not just failed, right?
Yeah. And another thing, the smaller the startup it is, for me, it's easier to leverage my power of purchase.
The equity share, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
So the more data you have, the more they can justify why the valuation is high, for example. I'm not saying I'm a shark and I'm taking, I'm stealing share from founders.
No, but it makes sense, because you'll add value to help them understand, and this is your, how do I say it? This is your unique way of actually growing yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, it makes sense, and helping them also.
Yeah. But this is, again, it's the very little playground. It's a bit the Wild West in this very early stage. It's valuation is a thing. It's not empiric science.
Yes,
So
yes.
that's where I like to come, bring value, bring other investor. It's fun.
Exactly, and it's because it's human connection, right?
Yes.
It's not Excel sheets and
Yes.
IRR and whatever these metrics that I've never
Yes.
understood. It's just okay.
In 15 minutes, I can already know if I want to invest or not.
Yeah. And how do you communicate that to the founder? I mean, do you just what do you do?
No, usually it goes through a meeting, a call first, a meeting.
How do they reach out to you?
Mostly LinkedIn, I would say.
Okay.
And now with the university, with one event, I reached 10, 15 startups at the time. So
Wow. Okay. How do you? So they send you emails. You have your contacts and.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then you just go through them and you call back and say, hey, let's talk.
Yes. No, usually at the startup competition, I already see the one that I'm interested. So I reach out to them at the end of the event and I say, okay, send me an email. Certain times, what a bit disappoint me is even very good startups and good founders, after they pitch, they present, they do a very good job. I tell them, reach out to me, and they don't. So that for me is already the first no-go.
Why wouldn't they?
I don't know. Maybe they just see it as a homework doing this project. They're not rather.
That's sad.
It happened, Not everybody is born to be an entrepreneur. People can be more comfortable in sitting in an office. It's not easy,
Yeah, trust me. Now I know.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job, by the way.
Thank you. But now I know how hard it is. Like I keep on saying it. It's super hard. It's just. But that's the crazy part, because I remember you kept on saying this when you see the founder just spending hours and hours, and probably they sell everything they have and they just believe in their cause and their mission and their vision, and they're happy still. Yeah. And you find me 5 years earlier, I was traveling business class. I was, having free time to binge watch on Netflix. I was having books, reading books all the time, and I have all the free time in the world. But I always felt something is missing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is, so yeah, some people understand it, others don't. And this is what you feel your strength is. You're able to pinpoint the people that understand it and their ideas and catch them.
Yeah. And the process it's fun. That's for me the most important thing.
What's the largest check you've written? Do you remember?
I would say 80,000.
Okay, dollars.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was a good
that
bet.
was a
if
good
I
bet.
can go back, I will write a bigger.
Bigger
but
one.
At that
No one
stage,
would, yeah, exactly.
I didn't know, So
no one would know. I mean, people would say, "Oh, I should have invested in Nvidia now, right?"
No.
Like crazy. Okay. So now we have the pre-seed, and then so the pre-seed is just that. It's just it's wild west. It's just crazy. People just go and talk, like you're saying, and mostly it's in the probably universities or on LinkedIn. People just reach out to you, and you just guess there, or let's say you don't have data points. The more data points they have, the more leverage they have, and therefore it's not very interesting for you.
Yeah, because you are like a prototype stage, pre-proof of concept. So it's very, very early. You don't have anything tangible in your hands at that stage.
And you're happy with the idea and PowerPoint slide?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And you give money just like that?
Yeah. Yeah, but I take a lot of equity as well.
Exactly. Touché.
That's the thing,
Touché.
If you want to be the first one to be part of a startups, you have to risk your capital, and of course that's high risk, high reward.
Yeah, for both.
Yeah.
For both, and that's fair game. That's fair game.
Yeah.
Now let's, if we move one step up, that is the seed stage, right? So you said the pre-seed valuation is very fluffy, is very sort of, okay, I think, and you do your own kind of casual gut feeling, and we go into seed. Seed, do you expect people to have clients?
Yeah, technically, yes. Depending on the service, depending on the product, depending on multiple factors, but at least a proof of concept has to be there. And there has to be a clear vision on what's the plan, what's the marketing strategy, market research, more detailed presentation as well. So that's a bit more profound.
And this is still with the angels. It's not VCs.
Yes, it's. Yeah, usually it's angel stage.
Usually it's angel stage, okay. And then, so do you hand over to seed level? So do you hand over to, so from pre-seed, do you hand over to the seed investors, the angels? Like, do you have your own network and say, hey, you know what, this is now this, and you tell them that, and you try to sell it to them?
Yeah, so what I do, I will never ask somebody to put money if I didn't put the same amount of money or more in the same company. That's for me, it's ethical. I will never suggest, okay, invest in this company I heard is good. My ethical point is I put the money, I think they're good, I enter at X valuation. If you want to enter now, it's X plus,
of course,
whatever.
Yeah.
Because there is a growth, they prove that they can do it, etc., etc., etc. So it's where I bring added value as well to the startup, and I can negotiate the valuation, because there are other people that says, Matteo, you jump yourself into the cage of the tiger. If you survive and you crawl down, tell us. We are happy to put more money at a higher valuation, but we want to have this print screen from your side.
That's amazing. So you have this network of people that just wait for you to come with all the scar tissues and then tell you, you know what, it's fine. Don't have your last breath. We'll help you.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. And that's here in the UAE only, or worldwide?
People are a bit from everywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere.
Mostly I would say Switzerland, because I'm from Switzerland, so my network is still pretty much
so for
there.
the Swiss network. Yeah.
And for them it's better because they cut the risk of failure. Like through my journey, I invested in startups. A lot of them, most of them failed. So for them, they enter already in a higher chance of making it.
Yeah.
But for that, you pay a bit more.
Of course, yeah, because it's a higher valuation. And now, okay. And do you give your equity?
Usually I dilute for free at the beginning, because I don't want to impact the founder.
So you actually don't dilute the founder? No,
most of the case I tell the founder, that's your 51%. I don't want to take you away the power. So sometimes I dilute for free, or I dilute for a lower valuation.
Okay. So that's amazing. So we start from there. You give it to the, let's say, higher angels. You maintain that, and then what's your expectations after that? Because that's like a baby you're growing, right? Slowly.
Yeah.
What's the next stage?
Yeah. So after this angel on steroids, we call, because I'm a small angel, like after this big angel come into the game, through their networks, it's easier to explode the startup in different market, for example. So at that stage, I'm still coaching the founders. I still help them. Most of the time, I have to say, I invested in founders or in startups with founders not from Europe. Most of them are from India, Pakistan, for example. So what we bring, it's a bit the European touch, the European mindset.
Yes.
Because in certain products, the target, like the laundry, it's European or Westerner customers. So we say, why doing the flyers, for example, under the door in buildings? Why we don't do a radio ad in certain specific time of the day? And this sometimes is good from our side to educate based on the target market.
So do you help them with client acquisition as well as strategies?
Yes.
Like do you have a story, like a crazy story that changed because of an advice from, let's say, point A to point B? Do you have something like this?
I recently invested in a cricket farm in Mexico. So cricket, not the sport, but the insect.
No way.
So yeah, actually is...
Hold on, wait. You invested in a cricket farm that farms cricket, the insect?
Yes, Chapulín in Querétaro, Mexico.
Okay, go on.
That was a startup from a university.
Okay.
Tec de Monterrey.
You got me interested.
And,
Carry on.
I've been invited by the government to visit different startup and incubator acceleration center, and there was this startup. They brought on the table cookies, pasta, flour, and other products, and they said this is made from crickets. And I was like, okay, let's give it a try. I'm always experiencing when I travel in different food and different culture. Eventually, was very good. It was extremely good.
Okay.
And the fact that they explained me how insect-based food will be the future, because we will not be able to sustain the growing of the crops and the animal killing and cruelty, and the amount of water that you need is basically none. You don't need water to farm these crickets. So at the level of protein is higher than meat. You don't need space. It's fantastic. I believe this is gonna be the future of alimentation.
I don't know if it's because I'm fasting or because I'm hungry. I'm just you just got me hungry. I don't know why for insects. Okay, that's fun. And you actually tasted it?
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. It became like a flour, and with the flour you can make anything.
Like bread and,
anything, yeah. And it's actually halal.
Yeah, okay. Oh, wow, serious?
Yeah. So in the Quran there is a verse where Prophet Muhammad eats grasshoppers, which is part of the family of crickets. So
now I'm really hungry.
We are trying to bring it here.
So this investment, so you flew to Mexico.
Yep.
You met with people sponsored by the government. Yep. So they put it together for you, and you saw this specific, very niche idea. And I remember you're big in sustainability as well.
Yes. So for me it was the social aspect, environmental aspect, and of course, back to your question, what was my hint that gave them to change a bit the line was related to army food. Now, there is a problem where soldiers have to stay long time on the field and everything, and as well not only related to war, that's not the case, but as well for humanitarian help, where you can create protein bars out of this type of product and give it away to a refugee camp as well, for example. And that's
there's a humanitarian element to it as well.
Yes, of course, yes. Okay. So now we're trying to enter with this very high protein bar for support a different field. Yeah.
What do you expect when you go to when you put your product with a protein bar and there's some big cricket on it?
It's psychological. If you think McDonald's or Burger King would have had one of the best seller as a vegan burger 15 years ago, people would have laughed. Nobody would have ever believed that fast food will ever sold vegan burger, and now it's a massive thing.
So there is this, but that's a risk for you, right? To go to market, it's like a massive risk within that.
Yeah, no, of course, we are not entering McDonald's next year, but in country or in region like Latin America, Central America, or Asia, this is a product that is already existed.
That already exists,
for hundreds, thousands of years,
Yeah.
It's a matter of mentality, and if you see, even quinoa was the food of the poor people, and now it's superfood, and everybody's eating it. And if you create a niche out of something that is good for the people, good for the environment, you have a future.
You have a future, and that's really visionary. Like crazy. I asked you about the crazy story, and you gave me this story. I'm satisfied. Let's put it that way. I'm satisfied with the craziness of the story.
And again, it's fun. Students, they thought, okay, what is going to be the problem in the next 10, 15 years? It's going to be water. How we can farm with no water. The price of water is going to increase. The price of crops is going to increase. Consequently, the meat. So how we can create something that can feed the people for a cheaper cost, and a cheaper cost for the environment and the society. So that's a visionary thought. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. So far,
But that's the beauty of it for you.
Yeah, for me, and already, if I sell now the shares, I'm doing 10x of what I put, because I enter very early, and now we have a proof of concept. We have thousands of order per month, so it's cool.
What's your advice, let's say, to people who are on the verge? There are many, corporate people who are, CEOs, CXOs in big corporates who are able to do what you're doing, but they're not sure. Well, I mean, is it just go and just spend, let's say, 100, 200,000 in this part of the world, dirhams on, let's say, 2-3 small startups? Where do they go?
It really depends on your personal situation. I have to say, I'm married, I have no kids, so this gives me a lot of flexibility. I have responsibility, but through myself and my wife, and eventually her family in South Africa, and my family in Switzerland. But I'm very flexible. The moment that maybe you have kids, it changed. But you prove with kids that you can you can succeed. Now, it's really depending what is your goal in life. For me, it's I'm not running behind luxury car, luxury apartment, houses, properties. For me, is traveling in nice country, which is we just did a trip to Pakistan. Was one of the best trip that we ever did.
I hear it's a beautiful country.
From Islamabad to Kunjara Pass, China
Where is this,
border.
north? Oh, north. Okay.
Yeah, by motorbike. Me and my wife was a crazy adventure. It was during Eid last year. Fantastic.
Wow.
So when we say traveling is really going backpacking experience, it's not luxury at all. So that's for me is a prerogative, and again flexibility. It's doing what we like, what we love, and try to help people that didn't have the chance for many reasons. Yeah.
I think that's the key word, trying to help people and finding joy in that. And you said something at the beginning, which is, if you're looking for, let's say, a return tomorrow, then maybe you shouldn't even look at investment altogether, let alone the pre-seed, right? Because otherwise it will not work. And you will be a burden on the founder themselves. Because if you're expecting something from them, you'll naturally put pressure on them to do something, and probably you'll wait at their door on Monday at 8 a.m. and tell them, hey, where are you? Continue working,
And again, we have to define it's not philanthropism. So I'm not giving money because I'm Santa Claus or because I believe in a better world. I'm looking for a return. So not immediate return, but as well, I say to the founder, listen, if you're charitable, I'm more than happy to support you. If you're a business, I support you, but I expect you some return. So this is something that you have really to define, to build your expectation and the expectation of the founder.
So one thing I always hear about from investors, the maturity of the founders, right? Their ability to understand the seriousness of the thing. So, for example, you're giving them money, all of a sudden they're spending it on themselves. They don't know, they cannot differentiate between business and personal. And do you feel this? Do you face these issues?
Yeah, we had some case where we probably didn't do a proper set up saying, okay, this is the money, this is how you have to spend it. So in certain case, I will not say abuse, but they misuse slightly the funds. We corrected and went well. And in another case, for example, we give the money and the guy was too much scared to lose it that he didn't use it properly. So the growth gets stagnant on the level. So we met with him and said, listen, the purpose of giving you the money is not to keep it in the bank account, is to use it and to grow. If it's fail, it's a fail. We have this knowledge, but it's worse to have it in a bank account and nothing happens.
Of course, yeah. So how do you apply the controls? Do you have like weekly meetings, monthly meetings? What do you do?
Depending on the stage of the startup. At the beginning, it's more the founder that to reach out to me, to us. The bigger it became, the less involvement you get, but you have like a monthly meeting, trimester,
every 3 months, every quarter.
Quarterly report, quarterly board meeting, depending.
And then, what is the biggest red flag that you once you see, you say you can immediately spot and know that, okay, this is wrong. This is the wrong investment. I need to either course correct or get out.
If I don't understand it. If the founder is not able to explain me what it is in 30 seconds, for me, but this is personal. Maybe it's the best idea in the world, But most of the time it's tech idea. Now there is a lot of artificial intelligence that I personally don't understand. Maybe they are the best startup. You put $1 and became 1,000 in a few years. But for me, it's difficult to understand that it's difficult to invest in it.
Practically speaking, whether it's technology, whether it's food, whether it's education, whether it's whatever, if you're not able to explain the problem is not tech, if you're not able to explain the solution and why the significance of the solution and why people actually pay money for it or how can you make money from it, has nothing to do with technology, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Technology can be integrated in an idea. For example, Zofer, it's basically a tech company where we pick up and drop off the client with the car or without their car, but the tech behind is very advanced.
How's Zofer? Tell me about it, because I see your posts sometimes. I see you're very happy, proud about it. I understand that it's kind of a ride-hailing. I mean, correct me. What is exactly the unique element in Zofer that makes you so kind of proud that you're an investor in it?
I think the founders, Bunti and Ishra, did an amazing job. I was one of the first, actually was the first investor, and at the time they had 2 drivers, and now we passed the 1,000. So it's
1,000 drivers. Wow.
More.
Okay.
So it's for me, it's a bit of a miracle based on the capability of the founders. What they're doing, it's crazy good. The product is good. It's word of mouth. No much marketing investment. People share their experience, and you get more customer. And now it's not only B2C anymore. We shift a bit to B2B as well. So it's a fantastic company. I'm sure this is going to be a big success. Hopefully in 3-4 years we're going to have another podcast, and I'm going to dress up as a unicorn if I exit properly.
No, I'll tell you what. One of the things that you mentioned, which is extremely, I think, valuable, and that's what I'm trying to learn now more, is without marketing, the word of mouth is crazy, and you're able to get that much drivers and that much business and customers. I think this is the biggest, how do I say it, positive signal to an investor that the idea is absolutely on point, right?
Yes. And you have to use it and like it. Like I have a laundry company and I use it weekly. A vegan ice cream company, and I order it quite often. At Zofer, I use it 2-3 times every week. So it's something that you have to believe in it, using it, give advice why it's not good, why is this good, and bring your value as a customer as well.
Of course, yeah, because now you're using it yourself, so you not only that you hear it, but also you experience it firsthand.
Exactly.
By your solving your own problems, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, what's your tenure? What's your number of years usually, typically, that you say, you know what, after this, because we said that, okay, there's a red flag, which is something you don't understand. So it's like, you know what, I made a mistake. What about time?
It really depends. There is not like a perfect rule book where you say, okay, 1st of January I buy, 10 years or 5 years later, exactly 1st of January you sell. As I said, at the beginning is a bit Wild West. When things are a bit more structured, like Zofer, now it's a big company, I have to say. At that stage, I just put myself back and I wait the call from the founders or from another buyers and tell me, okay, that's the money that I want to give you for your share. So
they tell you, and you know what, now we're moving to a different stage, and we need to buy back. Or we need to...
Not really, maybe not buy back, but usually, in the cap table, which is the list of shareholder, at the beginning, you have all the angel, all the small investors that believe in you, friends and family. So you have a small portion of like 0.2% of the company, 3%, 5%. So at a certain stage, you have a big investor that comes with real money and say, listen, I don't want to have these 20 people inside the company. So
otherwise, I will not invest.
No, they said, I want to buy them out because he wants 5 people. Himself, the 2-3 founders, and maybe another larger investor that enter at the beginning.
This happens?
Yeah.
Okay. Why do they do it?
Because if you have too many people as well, admin-wise, and it's complicated. Because every time that there is some change in the constitution, for example, or in the documents, you have to reach out to everybody, and it's complex.
Okay, so they just to ease up on the complex, like, you know what, I'll buy everything from you.
Yeah.
Okay, and this happened with you?
Yeah. So that's happened in the past.
So is this how you practically monetize? Yeah. Okay, so you wait for that moment. So you keep on diluting, but your value keeps going up.
Yes.
I remember you said something, and I keep on saying it now to everyone. It became a mantra for me. Let me say it to you, and I think you remember.
Tell me.
I'm happy with... I think he said 1% from an watermelon better than 50% of a grape.
Yes.
You said that,
Yes,
right? Can you explain
correct,
it again to me?
This
In this context of
This is what I say to the founders, and this sometimes can create fraction. Founders are very attached to the shares. They said, "I created, I made it, whatever. This is my baby, etc." And they are very reluctant certain times to give away shares.
Give away ownership.
Yeah, I'm not saying give away for free. I'm against people that get equity by not putting money.
Why?
So,
what other things could there be?
it's called like sweat equity.
Oh,
it means
okay.
you get equity based on your work. I will not work the same if I put my money or I don't put my money. So that's very personal. There are different lines of thinking.
I agree.
Now I say to the founders, why you are attached to something that's, you can have the 100% or the 90%, but if this doesn't succeed, you have not 90% of nothing. So rather dilute yourself, bring on board somebody that's give you money, not you physically, but give money to your baby.
The business.
Let them help you. And, even if you go down 40%, 30%, and you have 10, 15 people on board that can really make it happen, you have a watermelon that can make you very happy rather than a small grape that do not make any profit for yourself or the company.
So the absolute amount is actually bigger.
Yeah, exactly.
But they don't, some like I know because I have first-hand experience and there's like, oh, no, we need to have anti-dilution. I don't know. It's like, you're already at 100%. You cannot have anti-dilution at 100%.
It's a different mindset. It's people are attached to shares. I personally am not. I think people bring value, and if you have to give away a little bit of your idea, do it.
Okay. What is it what is the thing, the understanding, the philosophy that should be in the founder's mind that you notice the change? So before and after, before they were so attached, and then once that philosophy became intrinsic, they changed, they switched. Did it happen to you?
Yeah, they have to realize that a startup is like a baby. You are the parents, you go to labor, you create the idea, you create the baby, but at a certain point on the life cycle of the startup, you have to send it to nursery and after to school. So you have to have teacher or mentors that helps your baby, your startup to grow and to develop. And maybe to pivot. You have the idea your baby is going to be an astronaut. Maybe it's not going to be an astronaut, but he's going to become a professional dancer. So you have to be able to pivot into the life cycle of the startup, and as well take advice from people with more experience and get some nanny sometimes, and for you to experience and try other things while your startup is taking another way, and sit down and look until the graduation. And that's a bit how I see it. And founders certain times they don't want to change, let go, or give the chance to others to help.
So take advice, give equity or ownership, and change. Those are the three big
Resilience.
Resilience. Yeah. Like people actually resist these three things. Yeah. Look, I'm not a mother. But I understand, because when I talk to my wife, Iman, and every time we talk about things, it's easier for me to do any of these things with our kids, but it's much, much harder for her.
It really depends. You sometimes have stronger mentality founders or more attached founders, and other co-founders are a bit more flexible, more volatile with the way of thinking. It's not a science. Startup is not a science, and this is what I love. 1 + 1 in the startup world sometimes doesn't make 2. So it's fun, it's dynamic, and every founder is different. It comes from different country, different background, different religion. It's for me, it's just fantastic. And what I gain on top of the opportunity to make money out of it is the experience.
Of course, yeah, because you're going with people who will make all sorts of mistakes, and it's like a small baby who will just keep on falling down, breaking every bone in their body, and then recovering and becoming stronger. Yeah. And while they're doing that, you're getting the learning as well.
If I was an employee, maybe I would have traveled to India and stayed in an hotel. But now when I travel to India, I go to a waste management company, and we segregate plastic into shoes, for example. I will maybe went to Mexico in a nice resort and lying down with a cocktail or a mocktail on my hands, but not visit the university and speak with students and eating crickets out of pasta, you know. So every time that I travel, it's for me an experience to visit a country and learn as much as possible from the culture, and generally is usually younger people than me. So technology, as you know better, is changing a lot. So I have free lesson on trends, free lesson on design, free lesson on food.
And that gets you excited.
And for me, that's just amazing.
So, do you evaluate or even look at single founders, or it's irrelevant to you, single or multiple?
No, it doesn't.
Doesn't matter. So even if it's one person, you're okay with one person.
Yes.
Okay.
As soon as he creates himself a surrounding of people or trusted people that can be investor, but can be as well friends that help. Early employee, for example, that's not a problem for me.
So why is, because we always hear about these things like, oh, single investor, usually investors will not invest, and it's always do 2 or 3, even 5 they will not invest. So it's like the sweet spot is 2, 3. Have you heard this before?
To be honest, again, I'm not a scientist, and I go with my guts, and so far it has been
good.
A good result.
So it's a myth.
Again, I didn't came here and park my Bugatti downstairs, first of all because I don't have the money, and second because it's not my priority. But it's really depend for me. It's the feeling.
But other investors, do you feel that they have that sort of single versus multiple?
Oh, I think maybe in a more advanced, so pre-series A, after seeds round, I will say, in that case you have, because you put more money, so you have to make more calculation, more evaluation, and minimize your risk. For me, my risk, if I put $10,000, for me these $10,000 are gone in my head. It's not money that I'm taking out from my travel, for example, for my expenses, for my saving. I know that $10,000, I put it there, it's gone in my head. If something comes out,
perfect,
amazing.
Okay.
And again, I'm not doing $10,000 every month. I do 3-4 investment per year.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense, because the rest of the time you're, like you said, you're coaching, you're supporting, you're helping. So there's effort that you're putting as well with them to help them grow to stand on their feet and then be able to move on to the next stage, right?
Exactly.
What do you think of incubators, generally speaking? Because what you're saying is like very synonym to incubators, right?
Yes, so I have a bit of a mixed feeling with incubator, because you have different incubator accelerator. I would put them together even if it's a bit different. You have the one from university that in certain case are a bit of a check boxing for the parents. If they say, okay, there is an incubator in this university, I'm going to send my son, my daughter there, because maybe these are parents that are entrepreneurs, so they have this mindset. I'm not saying that they are bad. Some of them are box checking and some of them are very good. I have both experience. In terms of private incubator accelerator, you have some of them that are extremely good, like C3, for example. It's one of the best one that I know. And certain of them are more trying to get startups, selling them or giving them a license, a seat, internet,
real estate,
a coffee place. So
making business out of them.
Not squeezing them, but that's not really my line of work. You need an incubator and accelerator? Maybe yes, maybe no, depending on
how much you know in the business and startup. Maybe if you're, let's say, if you're a third, fourth time, startup, do you still need incubators? Probably not. Really
depend what's your line of business.
What does incubators do exactly, specifically for startups?
So, for example, in the university, they mentor you through, okay, I help you, this is your business plan, how you can make it better. They help you through a pitch session, for example. They
rehearsals, and so on.
Yeah, they introduce you to investor. They create a network between different founders. So they nurse you in a way of being more appealing in terms of documentation, financials, structure, paperwork, legal. So you are a bit more shiny and investable. That's a bit the way. And
investable. I like
teaching
that.
you, listen, maybe you didn't consider there was this company 3,000 kilometers away that did something similar. It failed because of that. It succeeded because of that. So maybe make more research.
Okay.
So that's a bit the concept.
And what's the time frame usually for incubators? Because I'm sure it's not indefinite, right?
It's really depending. It can be 6 months, can be 1 year, depending really the stage when you enter and when you want to go out.
And so what's in it for incubators? Do they take equity?
No, generally no.
Okay.
Generally, like for example, the university, they legally cannot take equity, for example. Other incubator, they might take a percentage if there is an investment, not through them, but through presentation. So like a commission fee. Not all of them does it, but some of them.
So what's in it for them? What's their business model?
They sell license, for example, through Free Zone. They sell seats, desks.
But isn't that like a real estate model?
Not a big fan of it. Again, I don't want to talk bad about incubator accelerator.
No, but if something is not done right, I mean, the only way to make it right is to actually confront because I share everything you're saying. So it's ticking boxes, it's real estate. There's no meaning behind the connections between the incubator and the startup and founders. I know many founders who complain, but they have no other option because they don't know any better.
They can introduce you to investors through events, pitch competition. You get maybe grants that can help you. That's the positive way. They can connect you through government. They can connect you through larger organizations to work with. So it's more,
so what's missing? Like if there's one thing you would want to change about incubators in this part of the world, with your experience with all the startups and the network that you have of people, what do you hear about the difference between, let's say, incubators and the proper incubators? I'm not saying here is not proper, but generally speaking.
Again, my knowledge is limited. What I will do, it's a sardine tank, not Shark Tank, sardine tank. You come, you present three minutes your idea, you show few information. Okay, that's $10,000. I take 20% of your company. Go with God. Try to make it happen. Come back in 6 months and tell me how it goes. Super high risk. Betting on people is probably not the right way of making business and making money. But this is a great opportunity, and this is something that is missing. So this sardine tank would be something that I will personally do if I have enough funds in the future. What incubator accelerator does wrong, usually it's onboarding people for the sake of having more startup and promote themselves and get more visibility, more employee, and
becomes like a corporate, right?
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. So what they do is just they onboard. It's like they're selling something, and just whatever comes in, just come in. There's no filtering process. There's no proper understanding of the concepts of the problem, or is this like filtering system, right?
Yes, it's having startup or founder just to have them. Maybe is not probably the best option. Again, there are incredible accelerator and incubator in the region, and many startups that come out of it are very successful. So
yes,
because they found larger investor, or because they get connected to larger organization or multinational company. So if you're an incubator and accelerator and you're able to connect the dots, that's the key winning factor.
Do you think now in the age of digital and the age of outreach, network as a powerful sort of enabler is as important as, let's say, 10 years ago?
I think it's actually even more important now.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. For me, 51% of success is based on your network.
Warm
and how,
network. But you can, I mean, if you do your own research and then you do the proper analysis of how to go to these people and outreach them, you don't need warm introductions. You can go directly to them, don't you?
Is yes and no.
Okay.
I always explain the founders. You create the magic formula to create the time travel.
Right.
Great, amazing, super investable. You're gonna be a billionaire. The moment that you sit in front of your computer and try to reach out to people and send your presentation, you lose credibility, maybe.
Wow.
So take some time, go outside, speak with random people with random background, and maybe you speak with 100 people. Maybe one person will not be the solution, a problem solution that you solving the problem that you have financially or strategically, etc. But maybe we'll introduce you to somebody else. So at this stage, technology, it's good, but the human touch is going to be something more niche and something that will really make the difference in the next 5 to 10 years. Personal opinion.
I think that's the most invaluable, I would say, advice you've given me today, because you're right. I mean, how would I differentiate myself from the hundreds of thousands of other people who are actually dumping their beautiful presentations and just packing the mailboxes of those investors? And I'm sure those investors are just getting all sorts of noise and spam and all sorts of things, because databases are out there.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be very real.
No,
everybody knows. I mean, everybody knows everybody. But it's not to go and try to send them emails, but actually use the human touch.
Yeah.
And that is valuable.
Yeah. I give you the example of the laundry company. I received the pitch deck of laundry maybe 3-4 times. Now what happened? I get this message on LinkedIn, try this laundry, this is the code. So this is really like showing you this person wants to give before getting, which is positive.
Yes.
I tried the service, my laundry comes back perfectly ironed, clean, and with a handwritten note saying, we thank you, we know we are not perfect, tell us how we can improve our service, we are very happy that you are one of our 100 customers. Now for me, the handwritten make the difference in between investing or not investing. You know better than me in Dubai, do you get even post? I don't get posts since the last 10 years. Everything is email, is message, is WhatsApp. So as soon as I saw it, for me was like, okay, this guy really took the time, even if it was not him, but one of the employees writing it down and him signing it, the handwritten things moved something in my head and said, this is different thinking, this is why I'm investing in you and not in the other 3-4 laundry company that asked me to put the money. So a robot would have been able to make it? Yes, I don't know. But this is the difference that for early stage investor, move the line between I invest and I don't invest.
I'll tell you what, that story actually moved me. I mean, now while you're talking, I'm just thinking about the number of people I'm going to write hand notes for.
It's huge, you know, at least for me, it's huge.
Yeah, it's amazing. No, it's amazing. I mean, these stories actually resonate, I'm sure, with everybody, because it makes perfect sense. And it's not about, like you said, it's not a theory or a rule, or it's actually, you can immediately relate to it, right? I mean, even if I can put myself immediately in the shoes of an investor, you know, and just understand, like, okay, I have all of those beautiful presentations, all of those beautiful websites and, you know, portfolios, and then I receive a handwritten note, properly done, in a way that, like you mentioned, like they actually gave you the code, you tried it for free, and it's just nothing more than that. I mean,
again, back to your question, a family office will not have cared if the note was handwritten or
because
printed.
It's not the investor themselves, it's the employees, right?
That is the thing. A VC will not have cared, but for the very emotional part of being the first investor, this is what's trigger and what shows you the intention of the founders.
Okay, let me shift a bit to governments and the role of governments. Now listen, Matteo, you've been a true, how do I say it, politically correct academic. You know, how do I know an academic? Every time you ask a question, it depends. You know, it depends. Okay, fine. Be how it is. I'll try to poke holes and see exactly the truth as it is. So the role of the governments, now for sure, they're doing something really good. Otherwise, we wouldn't be sitting here talking all this kind of detailed and complicated elements about investments and startups. And the startup ecosystem is fantastically growing at an exponential, rate that is absolutely facilitated by government, and that's a fact, right?
Yeah.
But I'll ask you about the state of how regulations, facilitation, how fast, how slow. what do you feel about the role of governments, and not specific governments, but generally in the region?
If there is something that I think there is a large amount of improvement to be done, is the simplicity in how investor can acquire share against money, for example. If we see like blockchain and now all the crypto, what we see in the startup world as an early stage investor is the problem of me now having 15 different contracts with 15 different startups. That makes it very complicated and very expensive, because if I give you $20,000 and for you to change the paperwork just to certify that I'm a shareholder, you have to use 10%, 20% of it. This is money that will not
really?
It's very complicated.
No, explain this to me, please. Yeah, explain this to me. So now you're giving, let's say, $20,000. What's the government role? Obviously, the government is the kind of mediator who governs the relationship. But how does it work?
Rightly, of course, idea of benefits the founders and the investor. You have to change the government paperwork based on the company.
Like selling your car, selling your apartment, same thing. Okay.
Yeah, so you give shares in exchange of money. But this type of process, it's very admin, time consumption, and money consumption. So I don't see a way at the moment where you can kind of privatize the acquisition of shares in a very quick, smart, simple, and cheap way. I don't know if I explain myself. So, for example, I tell you, okay, there is this cricket farm company, you're interested, and you say, okay, Matteo, I want to be part of it. This is the valuation. I have $5,000. Can I transfer the money and get my share certificate? This doesn't happen at the moment.
It's not allowed.
It's not physically possible, because you have to change the company shareholding agreement, ownership. It's a very long process, and at the moment this is what.
Why is it long process in your opinion?
Because it's just law-based. Yeah, bureaucracy. Yeah.
And this is usually with the licensing authority. So let's say if it's DMCC, it's DMCC. If it's DSO, it's DSO. If it's Shams, it's Shams. If it's free zone, if it's
But this is not a UAE problem. This is a worldwide problem where it's very difficult. It's not like you go on a platform and you buy shares of Nestlé, Roche, or like a multinational, or Tesla, or X, for example. As soon as you're public, you buy, you get, that's it. In the startup world, this is something that is not regulated because it's complex, of course, but I think there is a huge opportunity in this sense.
What's the solution in your opinion? I mean, just let me explain the problem so I understand. You know, so you have a company, and this company, I knew about it. I told you, hey, you know what? Here's $5,000 for this pre-money and valuation, and I'm happy with this number of shares for this 5. Let's go. Yeah. To complete this transaction, it's costly, it's effort, and it's time. Yes. Which makes it sort of high friction, and therefore it's not as easy to be done, and therefore it's not done as much. Yeah, right? and because of that, startups really don't get the chance to get investable. Because it's bureaucracy, it's time, it's money, and you know, the founders are supposed to work on the startup, not working on paper. Almost 100% of the time, almost 100%. You know, especially initially. You get your rounds, you use the money, and at the moment that you're using the money, you still have to think about your next raise. Yes. And that's make it frustrating and complicated, and take away the time, even if it's 2, 3, 4 hours a day on these paperwork for 2-3 weeks. If you multiply the time that the founder was supposed to put in the startups, this is a lose for everybody. So smart contract is probably the solution. Technology is the solution. Blockchain. Now, I don't know how to make it happen, but for me it's frustrating having 15 different contracts with 15 different startups. Because I don't remember, okay, it was a safe agreement, there was an anti-dilution clause, was a investment against a loan, so I get more share if they don't, if there is deliverables. It's extremely like 15 term sheets that you have to remember every clause in there. Yes. So that's a bit the complex thing. And again, back to government, I don't think it's a UAE problem, is a worldwide problem.
what the UAE is doing is onboarding people through different visa, different option. Opening a company quite is relatively cheap, fast, and easy. So that's the perfect way of how they are doing it. And they're promoting the UAE or Dubai, for example. We are the hub. Come here. This is your trampoline to jump in larger market. It can be, for example, Saudi, can be the Middle East in general, North Africa. So come here, make your mistake, spend as less as possible, and if you succeed, we are able to provide you a larger platform and larger country. So it's I think it's fantastic.
So it's the starting is very good. So you're saying, okay, and I've seen the other day an ad from a government agency that says, start your business literally in 15 minutes. Like literally in 15 minutes, you just go, upload a few photos, take probably a few documents, take a few photos of yourself, and off you go. Your LLC is there, and you're able to kind of start actually transacting after you open your bank account. The thing that you're commenting on is after. So now you built something, you have the LLC, you're still 100% owner or 50-50 between you and the co-founder. But now I met Matteo. Matteo is interested in this company and he wants to take 49 or 40 or 39% of the company. Then that process is a bit bureaucratic and time wasting and has high friction, which might render the whole kind of transaction obsolete, right?
Exactly. So the onboarding is easy and sweet and fast. Next step became a bit more complicated.
So what if let's say I want to invest in your company and we have a document like an MOU or some sort of a document that we say, you know what, this is how it is and that's it, and we don't attest it. Isn't that legal or it's dangerous?
There are, it's, again, I'm not a lawyer, but the moment that you are not in the shareholding agreement or contract, you would physically don't have the share. So after everything can happen. You know, if something happened to you and you have this contract with me, is your wife able to jump in and get, like, there are millions of variables, and as soon as you don't have the shares in your share certificate in your hand, there are millions of factors that can say, oh, this contract is not valid, this contract was done in the wrong way. Again, I would love to have an account, press a button, get my share certificate, and I will do it even more than what I'm already doing in investing in startups.
Exactly, and that contributes to the economy generally speaking, because the money now is flowing easily, but obviously controlled. I mean, I understand why governments have those sort of controls, because obviously anti-money laundering,
of course,
checks, protection for both the investor and the founder in a way that when you go, you're able to do it. But how to do it? I mean, you mentioned smart contracts and everything else. If we don't have smart contracts, what's the alternative? Like the quick and dirty solution?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm asking myself the same, but I don't know what would be.
Because it's clear that you understand why it exists. But then that's a good problem to have. So if anyone is listening who is working in the government, who is working, I think that's a 10x. From Future Foundation problem, they have the 10x program where they have 3 months, so they can. So in 3 months, this is your task. Come up with a solution for Matteo.
Yeah, I know. And if the government is behind, probably will be more regulated, more secured, more protected. So that's probably the solution has to be regulated by the government and not by a private company.
Exactly. And you mentioned that if I want to go and buy Tesla or this is obviously regulated to be that public. And if we do it this way, then we're crossing into the realm of public, which is a bit, of course, more complicated and difficult, right?
And of course, these are public companies, so they're supposed to be regulated, and
the governance on them is very high.
Of course, it's a long process. It's a different gameplay. So for the little playground, there is something that at the moment do not exist. And
so that's mostly a problem for the pre-seed sort of your stage investors, right? It's not very prominent in like institutionalized investments.
For bigger investment, it can take months, year to from the first meeting to getting the money in your bank account. So it's long, because there is a proper due diligence, there is a proper analysis, and change this in the contract, change that, and this is understandable because it's bigger money.
Yeah,
But
makes
for the
sense.
for the first pre-seed, it's nothing exists. And
What's
you-
what's the fastest, shortest time between the first meeting and the kind of money in the bank, shares in your hand?
that they
That you've had.
I would say, yeah, the shoe company in India, that was quite fast. Yeah.
How long do you remember? Like months, weeks?
We came from the first meeting was a presentation at the university.
Yeah, I remember.
And
The guy with the crazy hair, right?
Yes, exactly. I would say, a year in that case. Yeah.
1 year.
Yeah,
That's a long time.
yeah. But at the beginning, you have normal agreements, and after we constitute the company in India, and then at that stage we got it. Yeah.
Okay. So what's missing, do you think, that will allow everybody? We started with, the 7% versus 30% outside, people who are investing pre-seed. And I think this is because this is your forte. This is this is where you're mostly interested and obviously passionate about,
Yeah.
right? At least now. Until you have more responsibilities, more kids, then we'll assess at that point in time. But this time, you're happy to give 10,000, and you know what? It's gone for you. What do you want to happen to make your life easy as an investor?
Having an organ or institution or a government that says we have these 3,000 startups that they run a very easy check, no criminal records, no money laundering, etc. They onboard them and give it to the public. Small investors say, okay, I want to acquire part of it. I want to support this startup in exchange of shares. Through a database, the government is owner of the share against the money, and something very similar, something very simple.
No, tell me more, because that's a brilliant idea.
No, I don't know. It's something that for me it seems simple,
Okay.
but it doesn't.
So walk me through it. So what do you mean exactly? Expand a bit.
Imagine you are the government entity,
Yeah.
and you onboard 100 startups.
Okay.
And you have a website, you have a pool of startups, and you say, okay, investors.
So you on
this
board
is my
means
list.
you have like you said, you have a portal where people can submit,
Yeah.
ideas,
Yeah.
and then it goes through the process of
Just
checking,
check. Yeah.
which is a government proper check,
Yeah.
simple check, like you said, just criminal record.
Which through the Emirates ID is anyway is already done.
Yes, yes.
So you already do your proper check. If you have certain criminal records, you cannot even become a resident here. So that's already a first check that government can do and private company cannot. And at the stage you have, 100 startups, Mr. Matteo, little fish investor. There is this laundry company, just to make it easier. Are you interested to acquire shares? The valuation is $100,000. You put $10,000, you get 10%. This is your certificate. They get the money, they transfer to the startups, and as soon as the money is transferred, they get your share certificate. It is doable. Hypothetically, yes. How it's the compliance and the level of complication, probably very high.
Are you on any government boards or government meetings, and did you mention this idea to anyone?
No, it's years that I'm mentioning in this type of conversation, very soft conversation.
But it wasn't mentioned in an official sort of discussion.
But I don't think I'm the first one to think about it, to be honest. Probably there are somebody that's already in the government thinking a solution.
And if that's there, then this will increase your appetite to even invest more than 4 or 5 a year.
Yes.
Because now you have at least the basic confidence of the human beings, the individual, and obviously the LLC and
the concept will be similar to crowdfunding. So at the moment in the UAE, there are platforms like Eureka is a crowdfunding regulated by the government, but it's not really against share. You give the money and you get certain products delivered. So it's the concept of crowdfunding was quite early here, but the idea is really to give shares.
So instead of giving products, giving shares.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that will create a sense of community. You can create events. You can really make an environment out of it.
And that will increase the pre-seed investments from let's say 7% of for sure more.
Yeah.
Because that will get someone like me who practically never invested to
And
actually have the confidence to invest.
And on top of that, government can be responsible of the litigation if there is any problem. So with a court, okay, this is what was stated, and
which gives confidence. And then the big sharks can then have their eyes and watch from a distance, but then they see, and then once someone pops up, and that will accelerate the loop from pre-seed idea to prototype to everything in between, all the way to unicorn.
And you can create as well a secondary market when you say, okay, valuation went up, I want to sell. There is any buyer that wants to enter the higher valuation. So the similar things that I'm doing on 3-4 years, it can be done in 15 minutes.
That's an amazing idea. Okay, so what else?
No, I think that will solve a lot of problem for me. I don't know if it's doable. That's the only question. Again, when it became too complex, I usually step back. But yeah, if there is anybody that is listening and wants to find a solution that will make the life of thousands of investors in the
You know what?
UAE
I'll sit with you. We'll draft something. I'll go to future foundations and I'll tell them, you know what? This is an idea. We're happy to work with you on the ideas, and just, you know what? That's it. We'll do it.
Yeah.
So when this is for government, when it comes to founders, what's your thoughts about what they should do? What is it that is missing that you think, you know what? I need that.
Visibility, because usually the founder or founders lose a lot of time to be out there, be part of incubator, accelerator, for example, be part of programs for grants. So having one centralized platform will help them being more visible, and investor can search, okay, I want only mobility app, for example, mobility startup. I want only food startup. I want only hospitality or healthcare startup. So select it, and this will probably help. And at the same time, maybe you realize there is another startup that is doing something very similar. Why not join forces rather to pay two license and having too expensive, two marketing people working? Why not join forces? And this is, I always say to the university, see if there is somebody with a similar idea and create a stronger and bigger team, because at that stage, when it's idea stage, prototype stage, is the moment where you can really pivot into create from two idea one unique.
One bigger idea. And this is not there now?
There is no way of knowing other startup or
others from events and others, but it's like
yes,
there's no directory online for the region here. Let's say UAE, Saudi, that's an idea for a startup.
Yeah.
You do your local crunch base.
Yeah, no, you eventually, in certain stage, founders don't want to share too many information as well. So you have to balance what level of communication the startup wants to have with the outside world.
Yeah. And what's the one thing about investors? Now we talked about governments, we talked about, governments, you have this sort of regulation that allows for this quick and easy check on very early startups, just to kind of create that, economic marketplace.
Yeah.
And then for startups, visibility, just make sure that you're known as early as possible, as quickly as possible, as quantity as possible, volumes of. For investors, what's the one thing that you wish that it's there? Again,
simplicity and a broader platform where I can go and select based on my experience, based on my network, based on my knowledge. I now want to connect food distributor startup or solution because I want to bring the cricket from Mexico here, for example. So that will allow me to save time in research and have already pre-screened people and companies.
So that platform will allow investors. But what do you want investors to have or do?
Just be active as much as possible, create synergies between themselves, and improve the platform, and invest as much as possible, and help people with good idea.
Okay, last question. I don't know if I can't remember if I had this question to you before, but if there's one question you would want me to ask, what would that be?
Can you repeat?
If there's one question that you want me to ask, what would that be? To ask you?
Maybe the question: what is your plan for this year?
I love that. What's your plan for the next 10 years?
Okay.
So how do you see Matteo in 10 years?
First of all, I will see myself as a father. That's a bit of the project that we have with my wife. I think it's time for me to dedicate time to be a father, and try to learn to be a father. So this is
that's a startup. That's a venture on its own, right?
Exactly. So that's the startup project of 2025. In 10 years, being as happy as I am now, that will be the biggest goal.
So you're one of the very few that see be as I am now, which means that you're the happiest that you could think you could be.
I can always be happier, but as state of mind, as feeling, as I feel in this specific moment, if I am like in this state of mind in 10 years, that will be really a great success.
That's beautiful. Matteo, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much, and I really hope we can keep this every 2-3 years, so we can see the progression and if things happen in how we predict it.
That's a promise.
Thank you, Sama.
Thank you.
Really appreciate.